Welcome to the Jeremiah Gunn Show. This is CSN, the Common Sense Network. Common Sense, dedicated Common Sense, that little book that launched the greatest civilization in the history of woman. This program is dedicated to Charlie Kirk, the prophet, martyr, modern patron saint of America. God bless him. Here's an important safety tip. I have been told that my voice is mellifluous. I've been told it's monotonous, I've been told it's soothing, and I've been told that it's sleep-inducing. I don't want to put you to sleep. So here's what I think we should do. I watch some of these podcasts and they speed it up and they cut out all the dead spots and all those kinds of things. Others don't. Others don't do that. But so anyway, you can go on your settings and speed it up, 1.25, 1.5, whatever you want, whatever makes it sound better to you. It's kind of like speed reading, speed listening. I love to do that with books. I listen to millions of books, recorded books, and it's a great way to do it because you get the point. So, all right, let's begin. This is CSN, part of the ISI network. This message goes out to you now. The long sobs of violins of autumn wound my heart with a monotonous languor. The long sobs of violins of autumn wound my heart with a monotonous languor. Members of the True Resistance, this is Resistance broadcasting to you from behind enemy lines. This is the ISI network. We send this to you, men, patriots, brothers, because you are strong. These are the times that try men's souls. The time for all good men to come to the aid of their country. I know it said party, but that's not where we're at right now. We're trying to save the country. We're trying to save the country to save the world. America first. America first. Greetings to you wherever you are in the world, anywhere in the world, day, night, late night, morning, mid-morning. Greetings to you from the Gulf of America to the Gulf of Arabia to Greenland, soon to be called East Virginia. Kind of makes the most sense. This is the Jeremiah Gunn Show. Trigger warning, you're at a gun show. But we're telling the truth in love and peace. Greetings in the name of peace and love and truth. You know, no truth, no peace, no love. No justice, no peace, no truth, no nothing. It's that simple. We'll explain that later. This is Professor Gunn, the undocumented expert. That's the best kind. They don't regurgitate, cooperate, and graduate at the seminaries of the left. To get their authority from the hierarchy. Now they figure things out. You need that no man teach you. So let us reason together. I greet you in peace, truth, and love. Let's talk. Let's go. Let's get it on. Now, first of all, we got so much to say and so little time to say it in. I want to convey hope to you. I don't want to give anybody the impression that there's no hope. But at the same time, this is very serious stuff. You know, when you go to the doctor and God forbid he tells you got cancer, he doesn't try to put a happy face on it. He shouldn't. He should tell you exactly what's going on. We're there. We're at war. We're in the middle of a civil war. Actually, we're not in the middle. I guess it started 160 years ago. So whatever you'd call that, sexticentennial, whatever it is. Anyway, we're in the middle of a civil war. This is not a drill. This is not a drill. I'm broadcasting from behind enemy lines. I'm in the Confederacy. I'm in the side of in one of those states of the particular color that is against, it's antithetical to the Constitution, that wants a king despite their protestations. Methinks they protest too much. So, you know, I don't want anybody saying, oh, you're a doom scroller. You need to have more joy. You know, no offense, but don't judge me by that. I have hope. But I have hope for change. I don't want to give anybody the impression I'm on one side or the other. I'm on the side of the truth. I want clarity. Let's talk. Let's find out what's bothering you. What's on your mind? Send me your comments. Call me. Tell me what's bugging you today. Okay? And let's talk about it. I got the answers. Not me. It's not about me. It's about there is truth. You don't have to sit around and say, what is truth? Your truth and my truth. I don't care if you hate me. Just prove me wrong. That's all I'm asking. I'm not on anybody's side except for the side of the truth. Okay? You'll know the truth, and the truth will make you free. Those that are of the truth hear my voice. And, the greatest who ever lived said, I am the truth. So, let's not play around with it as if there's something else, there's some other alternate reality that we can go with. Okay? Just come, let us reason together. That's not too much to ask. And I don't want to preach to the choir. Why would you want to do that? What's different about this show? What's different about why is this necessary? Because I've heard them all, and I haven't heard anybody. I haven't heard anybody saying what really needs to be said or what's the full, complete answer. I don't care who they are. I know them all. I can tell you. All I want to do is help. I want to be a help desk. I want to point you to something that, I want to point you to the truth and who has it and who doesn't. And let me make the case. Apologetics, not apologies. I don't need to apologize for, so people say to me from time to time, unfortunately, from both ends of the spectrum, from young offals to old men and women of both sexes. Okay, you think you know the truth. So I guess the alternative to that is to say the only thing we know for sure that's true is that nothing is surely true. And I guess, like Orwell said, you'd have to be only an intellectual would believe something that ridiculous. There's a logical basis to this thing, so let's use logic. Okay. Now, first, before we get too far, let's begin. It is still February, and it's Black History Month, BHM. So let's get our international national anthem going, please. Everyone, please all rise wherever you are in the world, but America first. Well, there he is. True genius. That's from the album True Genius. He was, no question. An American treasure, national icon. And think about the words that he said. For heroes proved in liberating strife, who more than self their country loved, and mercy more than life. We are in the middle of a great civil war, testing whether this nation, or any nation dedicated, consecrated like it, and there aren't any. You find me one. I'm waiting. I'll wait. I'll look at the comments and see. So, one nation, like this one, this war is to determine whether this nation will survive. And so, okay. So how do we talk about these things? How do we get anywhere? How do we talk about things that in a way that still conveys hope, but allows for change that's necessary? Okay? Sometimes a doctor will say, well, you're going to live another X amount of years, but if you don't do these things, you won't. I mean, that's what we know about science. That's it. You won't if you don't take care of some of these problems. They don't give you a vitamin C or a gummy bear when you have cancer. This country has cancer. And I know one side is going to say, yeah, I know what it is. I know who. I know
who that is. I know who the cancer is. I know who the Nazis are.
Well, I'm going to tell you, you don't. You don't. Okay? In an Orwellian world, there's a lot of irony. I call this the irony age. We had the Iron Age, and now we have the irony age, where every single thing that comes out of their mouth, I'm talking about the enemies domestic, the ones who are cooperating with the enemies foreign to destroy America. That hasn't changed in our entire existence. That's what's going on. The only question is whether you can do like the Chinese philosopher of old and know your enemy. It's so ironic that we went into wars in Asia, and we're still at war with the worst part of Asia. And we don't even know about that art of war. Sun Tzu, I think it was. Anyway, he said, what did he say to begin with? Number one, step one, know your enemy. Know what they're doing. It's all about deceit. Most of it's about deception, about taking advantage of the enemy, about getting them scrambled in their mind so they can't think straight, so they can't fight straight. So the problem is thinking. One of our greatest philosopher prophets, Thomas Sowell, he's at Stanford now. I think he's over 90. If you don't know who he is, if you do, you'll just say, oh, good, he's talking about Thomas Sowell. If you don't know who he is, no offense, shame on you. As an African-American, shame on you. You don't not know who one of the greatest Americans who ever lived is, and he's still alive, and he's still talking, and he's been crying in the wilderness since the 60s. And what percent of people care? They say that in the old days, they took polls. They didn't do it online like American Idol. They didn't cherry pick and target it to be propaganda instead of a poll. But they went door to door. They said something like, what do you think the biggest problem facing America right now? Is it ignorance or apathy? And most people responded, I don't know and I don't care. So it's ignorance and apathy, okay? And we're talking about ignorance a lot. We're going to talk about a lot. So I'd like to talk about the idea of how to think. There's this magnificent little book. I think it's called Being Logical. I bought it at a computer fair, a computer trade show, industry trade show, and it was on the book Computers, I guess because it had the word logic in it. Anyway, it was so brilliant. It should be given out to every high school, junior high student. It would solve an awful lot of problems. And it was given out. I mean, it was on sale at this table. Anyway, I loved that book so much. I bought it for all my kids and grandkids. Anyway, I didn't have grandkids then, but anyway, I gave it to principal of the school that I was at, all the loved ones, because it's just a step-by-step little primer on how to be logical. I actually called the professor. He was in the Midwest who wrote it. And I sent him an email, I think, and he called me back. He was shocked that it would be on sale at a computer trade show. He didn't understand that part of it. Just had the word logic in it, I guess. But thank God they did. It's the greatest. I highly recommend it. So the first step is to be logical and reasonable. I mentioned Thomas Sowell because he said, the problem isn't that Johnny can't read. The problem is that Johnny can't think. It's really that Johnny doesn't know what thinking is. He confuses it with feeling. Thinking is not feeling. People today, they say things like, I think, ... whether they're politicians, PhDs, pastors, preachers, whatever they are, pundits, I think, ... And the ones that are a little bit more egotistical, if that's possible, they won't say I think, but really most people ought to say I feel. That's what they used to say. You'd be sitting around in junior high school, whatever. Well, I feel that, okay, that's cool. That's cool. It might be irrelevant, though. I feel this, this, and this. Okay. So when there's a problem, when you're going to have by the way, Thomas Sowell, man, I love that guy. I actually sent him an email and said, one of my things on my bucket list is just to shake his hand, buy him a cup of coffee or lunch or breakfast or something up there at Stanford. And he wrote back a really nice note and said, you kind of remind me of my early days. We used to do that with each other. I just don't have time now. I mean, he's still writing books over his 90s, but it was very nice. It's a treasure, just keeping that email from him. Anyway, he was on the Dave Rubin show, a sit down with Dave Rubin, and Dave Rubin was getting his eyes opened and open, just his mind was just being unchained, and Thomas Sowell just said, well, what do you think? You think the problem is we got to teach critical thinking? You think the problem is we got to teach critical thinking? And he said, I'd settle for any kind of thinking. That was kind of a nice soundbite along with the other ones that just really went viral. So here's the way. I don't want to tell anybody how to think. I don't want to tell them what to think. Okay? But I don't want them to think that they're thinking. And I don't want any of us to think that we're thinking because we're thinking something that somebody put into our head via the chipless chip or whatever that we're thinking. We're not. We're not. So what I've come across here is I'd like you to think in terms of WTF. Okay, that stands for whenever you just remember that little acronym. Whenever you hear about a problem, just think to yourself, WTF. And that stands for window, door, and floor. Table and floor. WTF. Window, table, and floor. Okay? In other words, that problem statement, that issue that's divisive and polemic and everything else, it's a problem. We've got to solve a problem. It's in front of us all. We're in this together. Martin Luther King, speaking of Black History Month, he said, we may have all come in different ships, but we're all in the same boat now. And boy, are we. So think of a picture and say, this picture represents, someone holds it up in the PowerPoint in the meeting and says, this represents the problem. The window, a table, and a floor. And the problem is the window. And the other part of the group will say, well, no. The problem's the door. And in reality, when you really break it down, the problem is the floor. So this is why people accuse people of talking past each other. They're all the same. Oh, both parties are all the same. Both parties are the same. And what we need is more than two parties. We don't, we're divided. We're so divided. It's divisive into left and right. No, well, I think the problem is we've latched on to, well, this myopic, approach. I think they call it a lacuna. Well, I'm sorry, it's the window. Well, I'm sorry, it's the door. In reality, it's kind of the floor. Okay, so we have to be able to understand that. We have to look at, take any issue you want, like, republic and democracy. I don't want to, everything is philosophical. There is the word philosophy means the love of learning, but we're sinking under the weight of philosophy. Okay, philosophy, sexchiatry, psychology. And this, people will make the argument against somebody by saying, well, all that is an argument from authority. And what they're doing in that instance is they're arguing from authority. And it's not an authority that they have. So I don't really even I like to say we should be experts, but not subject matter expert. That's what they called us at work. Who's the SME on this project? Subject matter expert. You got to find them, because you can't have everyone. Well, I don't know. So who's the expert? The reason I don't like the word authority is because of that logical fallacy. They say, well, that's just an argument from authority. I'm an authority, therefore I say that this is so. Well, you don't just refute that by defining it out of existence. I saw this comedian, I think he's a comedian, I think it may be Dave Smith or something, and he's on Gutfeld or one of those panel shows, and he was criticizing Douglas Murray. He kind of made his star really rose when he started attacking Douglas Murray. So, okay, I have a great deal of respect for Douglas Murray, but on this one issue, no, it was another comedian, but he was talking about Dave Smith. But anyway, that's who it was. A comedian, a stand-up comic from New York. Okay, so that, I guess that makes him an authority. And he says, oh, well, no, that's an argument from authority. So we shouldn't be taking words that we really don't know what they mean and just running with them. I have to admit, the logical fallacies, all of those lists of rhetoric, the argument from authority, the straw man, ad hominem, reductio ad absurdum, red herring. There's this fine people, straw man, steel man. It's not that easy to understand exactly when you read about those. A big, thick book on philosophy and rhetoric, and you read about what those are. It's not all that easy to come up with really, really, truly understanding the difference between one or the other. So if they don't have a real nice purpose to explain what's going on, then how are you gonna label that person an expert? So, I don't like the word authority from that standpoint. Also because it's authoritarian. You do it because I said so. Although sometimes that's a reality. That's a reality. So, yeah, I don't know I don't care what you want to take. Say Republicans, democracy. Okay, so the reality is not political parties. The reality, the floor. I mean, one of those is the window. One's the table. One's the door. The floor. WTF, window, table, floor. One of them is the window, one of them is the door, and one of them is the floor. The reality, the foundation, stop talking about the window. Stop talking about the table. We're not going to get anywhere. I saw Seinfeld interviewed, and people will say things now to just buy themselves some breathing room that they really don't need to have to buy. Like, for example, he's talking to a woman about, about a heckler because of all of this anti-Semitic stuff that came up. And he's talking about, so he said, I just told the heckler, hey, I'm just a comedian. We don't shape public opinion, and, we're not that important. And then and then like and then he started to cry a little bit or get choked up because the subject matter, the real issue at hand was the Holocaust. You know, but this is a guy who, man, I don't know if I want to even get into it, but he made millions and millions of dollars on his show. One of the episodes, he's Jewish, like me. One of the episodes was that he took this girl on a date to see Schindler's List, and he made out with her. And his family, all these Jewish people, they were all freaked out and upset with him. And I'm thinking, that's a subject of merriment? That's a subject of a joke? I mean, I got to tell you, I saw Schindler's List in the theater, and I love movies. I love movies. I've got a glossary lexicon in my head. My family does. We have it together. We can just cite a line from a movie because it's so perfect. What did somebody say? Film is truth at 28 feet per second or something. It's a famous quote. It can be. It's beautiful storytelling. It can be. It's not just for diversion. So, yeah, when I saw Schindler's List, oh my God! I mean, I'm a father of 3. What I noted is Steven Spielberg paid to have no commercial interruptions. Thank God. Imagine getting a commercial for a toilet cleaner right in the middle of that, or some drug that you don't need, that moderate to severe, whatever. Ask your doctor, tell your doctor. Right in the middle of that, my God. So, but anyway, it was the first movie that he paid to show it without any commercial interruptions. I sat down to watch it. For me, it was the first movie ever that I couldn't watch twice. I just couldn't. I couldn't watch it. I know an awful lot about the Holocaust. I know about the heroes of the Holocaust. I know about the resistance. If you want any recommendations or any advice on, I'm an expert on all of that stuff. Okay, so back to Jerry Seinfeld. He's sitting there talking to this person. And he's getting choked up about the Holocaust because think about it. He told the heckler, "Hey, we're just comedians. We don't really tell the whole world how to live and shape and influence. Life doesn't follow the art, which is this is our art." Well, that's a window or a table, but it's not the floor. That's not really true, because in the next breath, in the very next sentence, he says, "You know what we have is we have 2 mobs shouting past each other." No, it's not that simple. It's not that simple. We don't have 2 mobs shouting past each other. In a way, to the point of my analogy, one of them's a window, one of them's yelling table. I got to cross that out. That's crazy. That's going to drive me nuts. Anyway, one of them's a window, one of them's yelling table. And the reality is, for those who understand the situation, took the time to think about it, it's really the floor. So kind of, in a way, you're both right. In a way, neither one of you is right. And so do you think the Constitution cares anything about the Democrat Party or the Republican Party? This manifestation of whatever that is today, or the people who jump around saying, "Well, I'm an independent. Well, I'm a libertarian." Okay, and you have no right to say that I can't be that. So, but there's a whole bunch of other parties. Okay, there's the issue. The floor is the way that we're running the country. One of those parties, Democrat Party, is allowing communists and socialists and Islamists to run as Democrats. So, if the problem is that we've gotten away from the Constitution, and we're not doing what our blessed founding fathers put together because we've so destroyed it over this much time, then what are we going to talk about that it's this party and that party? Not even those parties are agreed together on what the answer is. The answer is not in a political party. It's in the skeleton. It's in the framework. It's in the Constitution of how we're supposed to do all of this. And so that then there becomes another example. Well, it's the Constitution. Hey, no, I'm almost tempted to say it's the Constitution, stupid. Okay, that's kind of like using the word education. Both sides in this divided country, in this Civil War, both sides, same Civil War it was last time. Democrats against Republicans who love the Constitution. Same thing. So, same thing with the word election. Same thing with the word education. It's the way we're doing it. People said, let's just stick with the Democrat versus Republican versus what's really going on. What's really going on? Okay. The Democrat, Republicans, people say, let's take Republicans first. Let's divide it into libertarians like Ron Paul, his rhinos like Romney, and mavericks like McCain, who was a disaster. So if just because you call yourself a Republican, that doesn't mean you are. So we have two parties. One of them's kind of stupid and ignorant. So there's a difference between those two words. And one of them, we had a PhD in the White House. I don't know that you could say he was stupid or uneducated, but he sure was ignorant. We only had one, thank God. But so one party, we have two parties, and people will complain about that. They think that's the floor, the fact that we only have two parties. But we're going to explain why that's not a thing. I think you'll see it. I think you'll understand it. But so we have two parties. One's stupid or ignorant, fumbling. They don't even know what they stand for, or they're ashamed of it or something, But Larry Elder, the prophet from the sage from South Central LA, brilliant, great man, one of the greatest. He said that in an election, given a choice between two Democrats, people will elect the Democrat every time. So, if these rhinos want to be Republican light or something, there's really no need for them. There's really no need for them to be around. They can just say, hey, when you go in and vote, when you instead of putting my name down, put down the Democrat candidate, because I'm kind of a wannabe them. Now, Democrat Party, Nikita Khrushchev famously he was the premier of the Soviet Union, he pounded his shoe on the podium and he screamed and ranted that we will bury you, our children will live in your country. Well, his child did. He was right. His son lived here. It's funny, Mussolini's son was a famous jazz musician, I think, moved to LA. Kind of crazy. But so Khrushchev's son did live here, and I cut out this from the LA Pravda, LA Times, LA Izvestia. I cut out this article that said, you cannot vote for the Democrat Party. It's too dangerous for America. So, the word democracy is, it doesn't even mean anything. It doesn't even mean anything. And when it becomes to mean less and less and less, they asked Hilary Rotten Klingon, they asked her one day, what's the difference between the Democrat Party and the Socialist Party? And she basically said there isn't. Debbie Wasserman Schultz was the head of the DNC. They asked her the same question. Nobody's listening. The Democrats are watching The View, where Whoopi Goldberg thinks that, doesn't understand why Jill Biden is not Surgeon General, since she's a doctor, and for her $18 or $20 million a year to sit there with soccer shoe sandals on and a muumuu. The other ones had to tell her, no, she's not a doctor. I mean, she has a PhD, but they got to call her Dr. Jill all the time. So so nobody heard him answer this way. So I have a simple question. I think that the founding fathers not only would not stomach communism, would not stomach socialism, which is where it's in the word Nazi, National Socialism. Okay, he wasn't right wing. He was a socialist. He just hated the other kinds of socialists because he was a uber nationalist. But Hitler was elected illegally, it turns out, through lies and manipulation. But he was not legally elected. Okay, so the problem is not the name of a party, this party or that party. The Democrat Party is the enemy, and so of America, always has been, is today, and is now doubling down. So ask yourself this question: why don't they have to say that they're communists, they're Marxists? Barack Hussein, bullcrap Hussein, blah, blah, he wiggled out of that. He wiggled out of that by saying, little cutesy pie things, and the press was ready to lap it up. But he's the first guy since Karl Marx to talk about the redistribution of wealth and to fundamentally, we're just 5 days away from fundamentally transforming the United States of America. What? And all the press, of course, they got him right afterwards and said, what did you mean by that? You're excited about, at this big Nuremberg rally with your columns, you're excited about, you're going to fundamentally transform. Have you ever told anybody how? To what end? In what way? How do we get there? So are we talking about the Constitution, or are we talking about political parties? Are we talking about political parties, right? We're so far from the standard that, and how come they don't police their own? How come they don't say, look, that if you're a communist, you're a communist. We have a communist party. We always have. There's an American Communist Party. There's a international. The Communist Party, both international and American, has always endorsed the Democrat since FDR, who was a communist. Woodrow Wilson, who was kind of his hero, and Mussolini's hero too, by the way, was a fascist, tyrant, socialist, eugenicist. So why is it that they allow, if you go to the store, it doesn't even have to be, Green Tree Grocers or Sprouts or anything like that. Whole Food, whatever. Whole Foods is Amazon now, right? So it doesn't have to be one of those organic things where you pay extra money to have ugly fruit with worms in it. But it doesn't have to be those. And if you go there, but whatever it is, thanks to the government, they've got this truth in advertising. They got this truth in advertising thing. Well, you got to say how many peanuts or tree nuts were in that, how much wheat, how much water, how much ascorbic acid or whatever the heck, sugars, corn syrup. But you don't have to say, if you're a Democrat, you don't have to say you're a Marxist. You don't have to say you're a socialist. You don't have to say you're an Islamist. They'll line up. They don't care. X% of young people say that there's nothing wrong with communism or socialism. Really? Why don't you go back a few years and talk to your grandfather who fought him to the death? We used to fight communism, and now we elect it. So the Democrat Party, how come they are so shameless, such shills, that they don't say, well, no, hold on a minute. Some Democrats crossed over and voted for Reagan. Some Democrats crossed over and voted for Trump because they're looking at their family values, their religious values, their economic values, and they go, I just can't do this. Defund the police, BLM, no borders, this transat intersectional, surgery on kids, mutilation of children, the war on women, which is really the war on men, but they call it the war on women. And then they turn around and tell you that they don't know what a woman is, and they get on the Supreme Court. So that's that party. Okay, so you can't really say, well, it's the window, table, or floor. It's the whole problem is that it's just that we gave a name to this thing. The Republican founders of our country did everything they could to make sure this was not a democracy. Not at all. It's not hard to know that. You just have to read the Federalist Papers, read some of their quotations. They studied, God bless them, they studied the fall of Rome, fall of Greece, Plato's Republic. They understood what happens here. And one of them famously said, masculine republics become feminine democracies become tyrannies. Are you watching? Have you paid attention? Are you keeping score at home? Do you have the program? Because that's exactly what happened. And we will take it up next time. Thank you for listening. Thank you. Send me your comments, please. Prove me wrong. That's all I'm asking. And I bid you farewell in the name of peace, love, and truth. But the greatest of these is truth, because you don't get nothing else without it. Thank you. Talk to you next time.